single of Chelsea and a single of Jordan.
JD. Crispin, hi, nice to meet you. JD. So we're doing something
Yes.
with you? Right. Right here. All right, thank you. Yeah, this is my father, actor Bruce Weber, and this is Christina Coolish.
So let's talk about So We Always Lived in a Castle, based upon a book. You play Uncle Jesse, or Julian?
Julian Blackwood, yeah.
So how did the project come to you?
It was an offer, a screenplay and an offer.
And were you familiar with the director before?
No. Well, one of the actors I'd worked with before, the pretty girlfriend. Now I'm suddenly blanking. I feel terrible. Sebastian Stan I'd worked with. I feel definitely cut that out.
We'll make it look good. Don't worry.
He's a good fellow, and I'd worked with him on Hot Tub Time Machine before. He's a good actor too, a nice fellow. So I was familiar with him.
Were you familiar with the novel beforehand?
No, I read the offer, the novel during production, actually, because there were some questions about an interpretation that had been put into the screenplay after I agreed to do it, and there was discussion about it, and I wanted to make sure to bring it as close to what the original novel and offer was. Yeah.
Like how do you approach adapted projects versus original projects?
I've changed at different times about it. I used to, of course, always read the novel very carefully, but I found that I've developed concern about doing it because I'm a filmmaker as well, and I tend toward interpreting things directorially or cinematically rather than what the adaptation is. And I'm wary of doing that. I know that it's important for me to think of things as an actor. So actually, I did the same thing on American Gods, which is based on a novel. And I was hesitant to read it. I only read it in the middle. I completed. It's a great book. I haven't told you I finished the book, but it's. I love the novel. I had taken faith that it was going to be good. I knew that I knew Neil Gaiman before, and I knew people who'd read the novel before that said it was great, and I knew it was going to be. It was a pleasure, sir. But the showrunner said you should read it, and so I did. So, like I say, I'm aware of it. In this particular circumstance, there was an issue that came up because the script had changed. So I wanted to make sure that there was something that was accurate for both what I'd originally agreed to, but it's complicated because the script had changed in a way that there were actually positive aspects to the script change. So to be fair, I had to investigate what was going on. Anyhow, I haven't seen the film yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing it now and see what it's like. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it comes out.
And you brought up American Gods. Huge fan of first season. Yeah. Can't wait for season 2.
I'm in the midst of shooting it right now. Still. I didn't know if I was going to be here because of it.
You guys are shooting in Canada for it, or?
Toronto, yeah.
More Mr. World. Got to have more of that.
Yeah, I'm in it a lot more. It was always that way. I was only in 2 episodes in the first season, and this season I think I'm in 7. But I knew that when I agreed to do it. It's in that way in the book. The character increases as well.
Very low key, if we will.
Yeah, which is something you're not supposed to talk about in advance.
But your father's here as well, and he's behind you, sneaky in. So you've got a project coming along that you just finished, I believe.
Oh well, I've been shooting it for many years. Christina's in it. My father's in it. I'm in it. I've been working on it for a long time. I'm slow.
Feature director.
I'm slow in my productions. My first film production, What Is It, which I still tour with. from the first day of shooting to the day that I premiered it in Sundance was 9.5 years. And the second film, which was greatly delayed by things about the first film, I shot in 2001. My father's in that one as well. I'm not in the second film. But in fact, the first film that my father and I act in together is the film that I'm working on now.
Do you find it difficult to direct while you're acting?
I find that what happens is I solve problems cinematically rather than as an actor. As an actor, it is your job on some levels to solve problems, but you do it internally. And as a director, you're solving problems essentially visually or externally. So there is a double aspect to it, and I tend toward noticing that I think more about the cinematic aspects rather than acting. But I've been acting long enough, and because the screenplay had been developed for many years, I essentially knew what was going on. So I didn't find that problematic. Also, I tend toward, with camera, I don't have a video village where I look at playback. It's shot on 35 millimeter negative. The first two were shot on 16 millimeter negative. So I've always shot on film, and never do I have playback. So as an actor, it's a funny thing. The video playback was invented by Jerry Lewis because he was directing himself, and he was very physical and had complex camera moves. But what I do is just I keep the camera static, or very rarely do I have camera moves.
So it's almost like a play.
Yeah, and that works to the advantage for acting and directing in a relatively simple format.
I hope
also tend toward liking that.
Can you tell me your favorite moment?
let you have more to play with.
There's so much. They always say, "Oh, keep the camera moving," but I find that there are, Rainer Werner Fassbinder, when he was working with Ballhaus, they had motivated camera moves, which is beautiful. But usually, I think there are unmotivated camera moves, and people just move a camera to move a camera. I don't know. I could talk about.
Yeah, the camera can be a character unto itself, or it's just an audience member.
Yeah, I could talk about directing theory for hours, but there's always. It can be great to have a moving camera, but for various reasons, I like static.
Do you ever ask your father for advice cinematically? How should I frame this?
No. But my father was involved in the writing, and we had a fair amount of conflict, which is worked into the film. The film is expanded to be a film within the film. So you haven't seen the scenes yet, but we shot scenes where he and it was based on some of stuff that went on. It's not exactly what happened, but things that went on. It's helpful, but there's some humor to it. I mean, but ultimately,
Constructive building.
Yeah.
I hope your screening goes well today, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Thank you. Cool. Nice to meet you.